As we are getting close to the end of the year, I thought why not take a little break from all these current day models and look 10 years back at this 2014 release from Herpa Wings. One of my most recent acquisitions, and to be honest, probably one of my best acquisitions this year. But is it just because it is such a hard model to find, or does it actually offer something maybe beyond what you can expect from a 2014 Herpa Wings release? Well, that is the question that I want to try to answer with this review. And I would also like to just quickly say thank you to Emre, also known as Neue Planespotter, who actually sold me this model. And with that, hello and welcome to a new episode of Review, where we today will take a closer look at an Airbus A380-800 of Singapore Airlines. At the front of the box we have this lovely rendition of the aircraft in flight, and on top of that we have the Singapore Airlines branding. The backside of the box then offers us this lovely box design, where we have again the same rendition once more. We get some technical data about the real aircraft, and we have the Singapore Airlines branding once more. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what a Herpa Wings box can look like when the airline insists on not getting crap. And before we get any further with this review, I should also mention that this aircraft model does come with a stand that even has the Singapore Airlines branding printed on. And here she is, the Airbus A380-800 in the current standard livery of Singapore Airlines. Now, there are various versions of, well, a Singapore Airlines A380 with this registration code. At least 4 or 5. But let me explain. Now, Herpa made a version of this aircraft in 2006, 7 and 8. And also Sky 500 made a version of this aircraft in 2008. However, when you are then searching for this aircraft model with the registration code, you will only find these 4 mentioned models. If you are searching on the product number, you will actually find the model we have here in front of us, and that was an in-flight sales exclusive of Singapore Airlines, which was released in 2014. I haven't been able to determine if there are even more versions of this aircraft with this registration code, but at least these 5 I could identify. But for now, let's focus on this aircraft model. On the vertical stabilizer, we of course find the iconic Singapore Airlines branding. On the fuselage, hidden in the dark blue, orange and golden sheet line, we find the registration code of the aircraft. And we do also find the Singaporean flag. That is, however, also pretty much all the detailing we find here at the tail of the aircraft, apart, of course, from the APU exhaust, which actually is really nicely detailed in this case. If you then move from the back and all the way to the front, we can see across the fuselage the writing of Singapore Airlines. Underneath the sheet line here at the front, we do then also have the aircraft type specification, and we do find the Star Alliance logo, of which the airline is a full member. But again, also here, that's all the detailing you will be finding on this aircraft model. And it is unfortunately not getting much better when we look at the cockpit section, where we do have the cockpit windows and the window wipers, and that is all. Yes, if we are complaining about missing details from Herpa Wings nowadays, well, back in the day they had even less, believe it or not. But this is the standard that Herpa had back in the day, so in that regard the model isn't performing, well, beneath expectations. But what about the engine nacelles? Well, they have been kept in this greyish beige color and have the silver leading edge printed on, and to spice it all up, we also find the Singapore Airlines branding. That's quite nice. The physical detailing of the engines is overall, I think, also quite alright, especially here from the front. Very, very nice. You can see the engine fan blades. On the fuselage, just above the wings, we have the emergency exit printed on. That leads us straight to the wings, which we should also take a look at. These massive wings from the A380. Here we have the different flaps, slats and spoilers carved out quite nicely. We have some different shades of grey for additional detailing. The underside of the wings doesn't really offer any printed details, but we have some nice physical detailing. And then the A380, of course, has these lovely wingtip fences, where we again have the Singapore Airlines color scheme printed on. That's quite lovely. And as a surprise, we actually get the landing lights printed on. That is really lovely. The landing gear, that is the standard landing gear that Herpa uses for all the Airbus A380 models. Not much to be said here. Overall, it is actually looking quite decent. Even the front landing gear looks pretty alright. That is often a weak point of Herpa Wings models, but in this case I think they're doing quite well. But we don't have any printed details here, unfortunately. On the belly of the aircraft we do find a hole in the fuselage, but as mentioned, this aircraft model does come with a stand, and as it doesn't destroy any printed details, well, I'm not a fan, but I don't mind. We also have a little bit more physical detailing on the belly in form of the ram air intakes. Rarely a detail that is worth mentioning, but at least in this case, I guess since we have so few details, we should mention whatever is there. And then last but not least, we do also have the doors to the cargo compartments printed on here at the back of the aircraft, and also here at the front of the aircraft. So there we have it, the Airbus A380-800 in the current standard livery of Singapore Airlines from Herpa Wings in scale 1 to 500. And what can we say about this aircraft model? Now, of course, the aircraft model does not offer very much in terms of detailing apart from what the livery itself offers. The details relating to the aircraft model, well, Herpa is really sticking to the bare minimum. The only and lovely exception here is the addition of landing lights. That's unusual for Herpa Wings even today, but especially back in the day. Otherwise, the aircraft model is following all the standards that Herpa had back in 2014, so 10 years ago. Now, the good news, if you are looking for a Singapore Airlines A380, is of course that Herpa has made at least 4 of them. You then also have the standard livery from Sky 500. They have also made a fantasy version of this aircraft with a golden livery, and they have made another fantasy A380 Singapore Airlines model with a Star Alliance livery. Then there's also a 5 stars version of the Singapore A380, and also from a brand called Looper, which I, however, have no experience with. Now, the bad news here is, of course, that despite the A380 Singapore Airlines having been featured quite heavily in the past, they are all very hard to come by. In fact, they are almost impossible to find, and when you find them, they're usually very expensive. And that, of course, despite not having that many details. So my pro tip here is, if you want to have an A380, then make it yourself or have it custom made for you. That way, your model will have way more details. But if you should find one of those already made A380s with the Singapore Airlines livery, I would not hesitate to get it if you can find it for a reasonable price, because an A380 Singapore Airlines is, of course, always nice to have in one's collection. But what about you? Do you have one of those in your collection? Let me know in the comment section below. And with that, we have reached the end of today's episode. If you have enjoyed it, feel free to leave a like. If you are new around here, why not hit subscribe? And with that, thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you soon again. I'm checking out, and bye.